Assalamu alaikum everyone. It is 21st of October and we have a training session with Dr. Bill today. So Dr. Bill, over to you.
Hello everyone, I'm glad to be here. Everyone should know that Siddique is in conference today for the weekend. He's training with some very high-level people here in Austin, Texas. So he is doing his job of preparing himself for the future. So we're working together to discuss emotional intelligence this series. And today we're going to be talking about relationship management, which is the next level up. And I think it's the next to last session we have on emotional intelligence. So let me share my screen and we'll do a PowerPoint presentation again for the first part. And we'll see if we can get that started for you.
Yes, I can see that.
Can you see that okay?
Yes, I can see that.
All right, good shape. So the title, Emotional Intelligence Relationship Management. And we've covered self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and you're starting to see the pieces of the puzzle being put together because this is a whole theory of interaction between people. And emotional intelligence, as we said last time, leads to stronger teams. And relationship management pretty much is a team description, how you work together with groups of people. So what is it? By definition, relationship management is your ability to use your emotions and the emotions of others, those around you, to successfully interact. So it's pretty simple in terms of what it seems like. So what are the parts of it that are important? Well, successful interactions. The question is, what is successful to you? What does success look like? We have to define your goal of what success is to talk about successful interactions, right? Well, if you're in a business, typically your success aligns with the purpose of the business at hand, the purpose of your team. You have to win some project, you have to accomplish some project, you have to make a profit for the employer, you have to keep harmony on the team. Now, those are the pieces of success. And so among all the people that you're interacting with, you have to get a consensus of what success is as a team. So you have to define that. And once you put it into everyone's mind that we know where we're going, the success is this is the point where we focus towards, then you have to have a path to get there. So it starts with clear communication. If you don't know where you're going, any place will do. If you don't care how long it takes to get there, any path will do. But if you have a goal, a timeline, then it's better to have the communication to everyone about when and where you're going. Number two is effective conflict management. How do you minimize the conflicts so that you can get things done without things falling apart? And that's something we talked about quite a bit. You have to create, and you want, as part of your success, strong connections across the board. That means between the people, among the people. So if that happens, one of the things that you get as a result, what success might look like, is greater community influence. That community influence would be important as you go forward and try to create a movement or an awareness of your company or anything that's related. If you've got influence, then people will listen to what you say. If you don't have influence, they will not pay attention to you. So we talk a lot about influence being part of success. It doesn't matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, we all have influence. There's different methods of interacting. Some people flourish in the business world when they have extrovert personality. Others flourish and do well with an introvert personality. But typically, it takes a little bit of both to make a team work. So neither is a bad situation, personality style. It's basically a style. And so in terms of EQ, emotional intelligence, you can have people on your team that are both introverts and extroverts, and they play different roles. But how they interact and how their emotional appeal is to others varies greatly. So we do have to understand who's an introvert and who's an extrovert as leaders, and we put people in the right positions to interact with the public. You typically would get the extrovert being more up front and center. The introvert would be more back in the back, doing some of the detail work. That would fit their personality. So the bottom line, and that's what we're always interested in, is when you have a goal for success and when you have people focused on it and in communication, then you have a result being more influence. As you have more influence, then the message gets out to a bigger audience. You have more people listening in. And that's the one thing we mentioned before is the more ears that listen, the more chances you have of success and sales. If people don't listen well because they don't see you as an influencer, then you'll have less sales. That means less profits, less income. And so you always want to stimulate the things to happen to cause influence. If you have a lot of social media presence, you have some influence. If you have no social media presence, your influence is minimal in these times. And so you do need to have a presence on social media. You need to have an email address. You need to have a website. You need to have a landing page. I mean, these things are just part of being able to show up in the business world as having influence. And so if you don't have what it takes, the tools for e-commerce, for instance, then you're not going to be very successful in e-commerce. And these days, e-commerce is a vital part of most businesses. You can speak personally of the same thing. If you don't have tools personally, then you won't be successful. Thankfully, we're coming up with a solution for all that so that everybody can have a personal influence in the world. So that's important. We'll talk about that down the road. Stronger relationships is the bottom line. The stronger your bond between people, the less likely they are to leave you, to disappoint you, to become problem in your business, cause problems. What are problems in the business? Well, employee theft, stealing of secrets of the company, stealing of money from the company, talking bad about the company, downgrading the company. See, these things don't happen when you have strong relationships and trust and confidence in one another. Usually the bad things in a company happen when the relationships are weak. And so having a strong relationship management on a team or among the employees of a company means everybody is in relationship and has trust, loyalty, and confidence among one another. A healthier team, healthier in all aspects. We talk about the balance of life where you have an equal amount of strength in your family, your career or job, your personal life, yourself, and your spiritual life. So a healthier team, mentally and physically, spiritually, all revolves around everybody on the team being in balance and sharing among each other those things that are significant in their lives. So if you want stronger relationships with people, and that means a healthier team overall, then you need to share in your lives what's important, what's going on, and how other people can help you, how other people can be a part of your life instead of being isolated. Those who are isolated are typically not very happy, and they're not healthy when they're not happy. So we're talking about mental health as well as physical health. And, you know, translates right to happy patients or clients. If the team's happy and healthy, then you're typically going to have that show up in their dealings with the public, with the clients. And if you have people with a good mindset, positive, then they're going to reflect that to the clients. And a happy client typically is a buyer. An unhappy client is usually not going to be a buyer. They're not going to be a referrer either. Happy clients refer, unhappy clients don't. So everything about happiness relates to how well you take care of people. And that's the secret sauce, really, of any relationship management. The bottom line is having clients who are happy, who buy frequently, and who refer more frequently. Peter Drucker is a management consultant famous for leading business throughout the last 50 years. And he said, unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, no plans. So commitment is the key. You have to commit, and you have to stand by your word once you commit. And it's not what you say, but what you do. So he likes the idea of follow up and follow through, not just planning forever. You've heard of the thing where people say, I'm going to do something, but they never actually get it done. Well, Peter Drucker says that's useless. You got to commit and take action. And I think Siddique is pretty famous for saying, today is the only day that matters, and to take action is the thing that is required to move forward. To think about it later is failure. To put it off till tomorrow is failure. We talked about time on our first meeting together, is that time is a critical thing in your life, and putting things off till tomorrow never happens. Whatever you do today does occur. And so we want to spend our time working on today's object, not tomorrow's or not yesterday's thoughts, what we wish we'd done, but what we will do today. All righty, so that's that part of our session on the slides. Then I've got some other materials I put together for you. We'll go through and talk about some kind of a Q&A that I put together about relationship management, and then we'll go into your questions that you have on the forum. What is relationship management and emotional intelligence? It is using your awareness of your own emotions and those of others to manage interactions successfully. Relationship management involves clear communication and effective handling of conflict. It is a product of quality, depth, and time you spend interacting with another person. The important part there is quality of time, depth of time, and the amount of time that you spend. If you don't interact with people, you're likely not going to have a very good relationship. Therefore, the management of anything that comes up will be difficult. So spending time with people does matter. Number two is, what is the relationship management in emotional intelligence an example? Well, it's defined as your awareness of your own emotions and those of others to manage interactions successfully. So all the relationships take work. And the whole key to that is it takes work. We talked about earlier that there's a training you can go through to learn to be more emotionally intelligent. So you have to go through the training, read, study, maybe look inside yourself to see what are the blocks to keep you from being unaware or unmanageable or not seeing other people's situations. You know, you have to unlock your thing that closes your eyes to the real world. So if you've got things that block your vision, you have to uncover them. So that's part of the work of emotional intelligence, is to unlock what you don't see. How do you build relationship management with emotional intelligence? So I'll give you 7 tips to build relationship management skills in teams. This probably follows along with everything else we're talking about, and especially for team building. Number 1 is you build a culture of listening. You give someone your full attention, minimizing distractions, reflecting thoughtfully on reassuring others in your sincerity. So that was one of the things we talked about in awareness, you know, is to minimize distractions. Like this leaf blowing, cleaning up the yard that happens every Thursday at 1 o'clock bothers me. And you can hear the buzz of that leaf blower. And when it comes near the room that I'm sitting in, it bothers me and I'm distracted. And so we need to minimize distractions when we can. But I've learned to not pay attention to it. As long as you can still hear me, I'm okay. But I'm sitting here thinking, this is distracting me. Why should we have this every Thursday at 1 o'clock? But that's the schedule they're on. And so I hope you can listen without being distracted. Number 2 is learn to recognize emotions in others. Being able to recognize and address emotions, both in yourself and others, allows us to experience empathy and thus connect more fully with others. What is the word empathy? What does it mean? It means you understand how they feel. It means you are aware that they're sad, or that you're aware that they're happy, and you can make your reaction mirror their reaction. Empathy means you feel for them, with them, and you understand if they're burdened, you understand it rather than being totally ignorant of what's going on for them. Empathy. Number 3 is to set clear expectations. Identifying and clarifying roles and responsibilities early is important in terms of behavior and culture in an interdisciplinary team. So you don't want to be caught off guard by things, 75% of the way through a meeting. If somebody's feeling a certain way, you need to understand it early. You need to understand how people react to things and not be oblivious to what's going on. You need to be aware. And expectations, met or unmet, are one of the biggest reasons people get disappointed. And early on in any interaction with a person, and especially if it's somebody you're dealing with that's selling something to them or providing a service to them, you need to know what they expect. If I'm a dentist trying to serve a patient and I don't ask them why they're in the office, but I just start working on them, that's one of the worst things that we can do as far as getting a great outcome. If I'm trying to save a tooth that looks bad, but they want a tooth fix that looks awful, but is not in danger, that's a big loss of confidence the patient will have in me, that I didn't listen to them talk about the tooth that they thought looked bad. The dentist in me thinks, I want to fix the tooth that's going to be painful, but maybe the patient wants one that's ugly to be fixed first. So we have to listen to what people want. And when they have expectations, we need to meet their expectations. So that's a listening skill that we must have to move forward in any agreement, any interaction, any kind of a team group meeting setting. Expectations is very important. Number 4 is to ask questions. Using questions as a communication or coaching style allows others to be more solution focused. Questions can also encourage a culture of exploration. The difference between a statement and a question is an open door or a closed door. So I always remember my mentor, Omar Reed, Dr. Reed said, if you must speak, ask questions. Ask the question, the answer to which is the message you want to send. He said, there's no bad question, there's only bad answers. Any questions allowed. A question will open the door to more understanding. Number 5 is develop shared values. When working as part of a group or team, developing a set of agreed upon values provides a common bond among members. One of the things I always did as I set my team would be to have culture points, vision, mission statement, and a values statement. You have a team, you need to have these in place. People should join the team and read what your vision and mission statement is, and they should read your culture points. If they don't agree with your vision, mission, and culture, they shouldn't be on the team. You should never create a team of people who don't believe in the same values you have. And so if you do bring people on and you have different values, you're going to have conflict trying to change their values to act in the way the team acts. It's better not to start a team with people that have the wrong values. That's why you need them up front to show them as they're in the hiring process or the recruitment process what your values are. If you value winning above all cost, you may turn some people off. If you value being totally fair with everybody is the most important part of the thing that sets your team apart from others, you need to tell people that, because people want to be with a group of people in a team setting that matches their values. Number 6 is be a leader. Providing clarity, acting objectively, and understanding your own leadership style will help create positive work environment. The leadership style is something we've not talked about, but if you have a leadership style that's autocratic, where you're dictating to everybody what's going on, that's going to have a certain dynamic that shuts the group down. But if you have an open style of leadership and you lead by asking questions, then you're probably going to have a better team. And so leadership style, you need leadership. You need to have it develop from within. A lot of times that happens. The best people rise to the top. And so you need to have training on what is a leader. And there's books on leadership that you can get. I read books all along in my career about leadership. John Maxwell has 50 books probably he's written. Most of them are on leadership. There was a book called Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. There was another one of Leaderships by Abraham Lincoln. So a lot of people pen books and study the life of successful people and kind of boil it down to a formula. And so The Art of War by Chen Shu is a classic book on leadership. And it talks about how you look at adversaries and how you lead your team, your army in this case. But it's applicable to any team and in business, not just, a military type of a conflict. Number 7, finally, is to use praise. The ability to provide authentic feedback is a key component of good leadership. And so if you're a leader and you want your team to respond, then you have to recognize good behavior and praise it. And you have to be aware. That's the key. You use your social awareness to create relationship management success. And that's all part of EQ. Knowing what the team is doing, how they're feeling, and being able to direct them to where you want them to go. Okay, with that, we'll close up the teaching part And again, it's about 1:30 and we can go to 2 o'clock if you like with questions, or if you want to go to bed early, we can quit when you're ready. Just let me know and I'm here for you. Samara, you here?
Yes, I'm here. My mic was, I was unable to unmute myself. So we have questions in our sheet. I'm gonna share a link with you.
All right, I'm looking for the link right now, so I'll put it up. Is
You
that
just
for me?
open you just open this, which I'm gonna share it with you. Talha, hold on.
I'm looking
Just
at
open
Dr.
it.
Bill training questions.
Yeah. Need to go to the questions. And we have questions here. From the row number 56.
I see number 26 there. Are we at number 26, 24, 25?
No, it's row number 56. Can you see here on my screen?
Let me go back to the screen and see what it is. Your screen.
Here is the question tab. Every time they will put questions here.
Number 56?
Yes, number 56. I'm going to close my screen so you can open yours, so they'll say where you are. Okay? Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone, kindly you can put your questions in the sheet now. So Dr. Bill will answer all your questions. Just scroll down to the 56, row number 56.
Right there, huh?
Yeah, here it is.
How do you analyze someone's personality? Have you ever used Myers-Briggs personality test? I've never used it in my practice. I had to take the Myers-Briggs when I was going through some of the things that I was training on, and I've taken, I don't know, 5 or 10 different personality tests, including Myers-Briggs myself. And they're all useful. Everyone has a different flavor. Some are in more detail than others. And if you do study these different tests and examples and compare the findings, you're always going to be able to understand people better. They do define in some degree the emotional intelligence of people. There's some tests that combine IQ and EQ together. And I find all of them useful. And I would say that right now, I've not seen any bad ones. I used to hire dentists to come and work for me based on one particular test. And I would tell you that you should listen to the tests, because one test told me that there was the tendency for this person to be passive aggressive, which means that they don't tell you that they don't like something. They just do things to fight against the plan. You know, they kind of have their own agenda. And so it took a couple of years, but the person actually started being passive aggressive in the employment at our office. And the test was true, you know. They didn't like to follow other people's suggestions. So tests do have some validity. So I think that you can analyze personality. It takes a lot of wisdom to be able to analyze somebody's personality just in your own knowledge. Most of us don't have enough understanding of human nature to do it innately, without training, without an instrument. So most of us use a personality test like that, an instrument defined by professionals, to tell us the meaning behind what kind of personality somebody has.
दूधे
Again,
फिर वो भी कर दे
a lot of them are free, a lot of them are paid. And so
मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता मेरे पास पता कितने हो गए 902 हो गए एक कम ही हो जाएगा कह रहे
you can get as detailed as you want. Next question. How can we neutralize a stressful situation at work? Yes, you can do 3 or 4 things. You can walk away from it, refuse to communicate with it. If it's too stressful, just don't participate. If there's a troublemaker. Number 2, you can report the trouble to a supervisor, a leader, if there's something that's causing stress that's not appropriate. If there's stress based on necessary components, well, you can't do much about that other than try to go to somebody who can do something about it. Go to somebody who sets up the system and say, this situation is too stressful for me. We need to improve the system. So you can look at it as a personal problem with somebody else. You can look at it as a team problem among the group in their interactions together, or you can look at it as a systems problem that's not about a person, but about what it takes to get the job done. The system is not easy, it's too difficult. So those are the things that I would recommend, those 3 things. Number 8 is being and dealing with an introverted person is better, or interaction with an introvert is good. Well, an introvert is only a person who just doesn't enjoy being in the limelight, putting themselves out in front of people. They'd rather do things on their own, or they would rather do things behind the scenes. An introvert is just not comfortable being placed in the public eye. Nothing wrong with an introvert. It's just that they don't perform as well in certain areas if they have to deal with the public, or if they have to put themselves out as a speaker, for instance, a teacher, a salesman. An introvert might be somebody who can deal well with facts and figures and making things with their hands, figuring things out on a computer, etc. If you're dealing with an introvert, you basically want to assign them tasks, if you're a leader, that they would enjoy doing, rather than making them try to do something that makes them uneasy or fearful. Fear of public speaking is big among people. And so if you tell an introvert to go up on stage and make an announcement, that's terrifying to many people. Other people love doing it. They're extroverted. They think it's fun to go out and yell and say, time for everybody to come in and enjoy the cake at a birthday party. But an introvert, they would hate the job of going out and saying, everybody stop playing in the yard, come in and have cake. Just something simple as that. Next question is, how do you make a stronger strategy of RM to the company's CRM? Relationship management to the company's CRM.
If I may say something, because it is not completed and I don't know what happened to the question.
Okay.
But the question was how to formulate a stronger strategy of relationship management to the company's CRM. It's a question that I wrote on it, but I don't know, it just disappeared. So it was a startup that who wanted to, if they doesn't have a department of relationship management, what should they do?
You know, your internet connection cut out every other word, so I really couldn't understand. Can somebody repeat the question so I can get the full meaning?
Iram, I will suggest you to write the question again in a form. So we will go to we'll take that question again.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Okay, thank
Thank you.
you. I'll write it again.
Okay, we'll go back to that question. Next question is, when you get a client or a boss who has bad emotions most of the time, how we can deal with this situation to keep our emotions normal and good? You need to get your client or boss to attend my lecture. How about that? They need to understand that they're not a good boss. No, you know, you lose your client if you start telling a client they're not a good boss or not a good client, that they have emotional intelligence weakness. Yeah, there's certain things you can say to bosses, but most times you're not feeling comfortable. You don't feel free to tell a boss he's not doing a good job, right? If a boss has bad emotions, most of the time, it might be important to get the boss's boss to be aware of some of this. And maybe the boss's boss has more influence on the boss than you do. There's probably some feedback mechanisms that need to be put in place in a company when a boss is a bad boss. And the feedback should be anonymous, so you can give suggestions to the higher up bosses about problems without being retaliated against. There are whistleblower laws in our country where if somebody sees something illegal going on, they can report it without having somebody retaliate against them. If it's not illegal, but just emotionally a bad actor, it's a little trickier because there's no laws against being a bad actor. It's just not good for the immediate company. I think it's better to seek out working for people with good emotions than it is to keep working under people with bad emotions also. Usually, if somebody has a team where people keep quitting, somebody's going to look at that leader and go, this leader's not doing their job. There needs to be a feedback mechanism, though. That's the bottom line. Now, if you're somebody who wants to keep in the same position and help that leader or that client improve, you can subtly, you know, not suddenly, but subtly, with care, in other words, give them feedback and critique and ask them questions that would lead to them moving in the right direction. You know, ask questions. If you must speak, ask questions, or ask the question, the answer to which is the message you want to send. You can craft a message to a person with bad emotions that might lead them to start thinking maybe they're the fault, maybe their emotions are causing problems. So you can use your intelligence to guide people. You can use your emotional intelligence to guide people to be better. And again, you know, have your upper bosses put on a class for emotional intelligence to expose those who are with low emotional intelligence. You know, exposure to the light tends to correct a lot of problems. Next question. How can we use emotional intelligence to avoid destruction? As social media and sound pollution is part of life, our habit is the most stumbling part in our success. How can we use emotional intelligence to get rid of the non-productive habits? Yeah, those are pretty good questions, you know. It all comes from starting off with self-awareness. Do you have this problem? Do you have this issue? Do you have these reactions? And are you setting yourself up for failure by not recognizing what's going on around you? Social awareness. Are you hanging out with people who don't care about relationship management? Or is there a concerted effort among the group to have effective relationship management? You know, a group that's intent on having a great relationship always has great relationship. It's the group that doesn't care, that doesn't try, that doesn't have good relationship. So you got to have somebody on the team who's the leader who promotes relationships that work. And it starts with having an IQ and EQ in this social awareness. Social media and sound pollution, things that go in your ears or in your eyes. You know, don't pay attention so much and compare yourself to others is one of the big suggestions nowadays, because social media makes everybody unhappy with their current life. You know, everybody was pretty happy until they saw how the next door neighbors were living. And then they wanted to do what we call keep up with the Joneses. They want what they want. You know, they may envy their automobile, their house, their lifestyle, their clothes, their dog, their cat, their horses, their cattle. You know, you always want to keep up with what the Joneses have. Well, that's distraction. You have to deal with that by saying what I have is maybe perfect. I have enough. I have what it takes. Now, you might not have what it takes, or you might not have what your life goals are, but you have to be content with where you are at that moment and not always be unhappy with what you have. You should always work towards what you want, but not be unhappy with what you have. That's kind of my answer to that one. Emotional intelligence is basically being aware that your current position is not permanent. Your history is not your destiny. You might write that down. Your history is not your destiny. You can make your destiny much better with focused attention. In what situations, next question is, do we find that our emotions work against us? When you don't control them, when you let your outburst outweigh your intellect, and you cause other people to start looking at you as weird or uncontrollable or unworkable, unhealthy, any bad emotional outburst, particularly in a time where it's not appropriate, makes other people uncomfortable to work with you. And when people get uncomfortable to work with you, it stops your career development. It stops your building of a team. It stops the relationship you have with other people. They want to get away from you rather than build a future with you. I think that's a really good answer for the time we find emotions work against us. You know, if we let our emotions go unchecked, it may not serve us for our long-term goals. Next question is how to formulate a stronger strategy in relationship management to lead the company from failure to success. Absolutely, you need to have continuous education in your company, and you need to have a person in charge, an MIC, a man in charge, a member in charge, who sets the goals. You know, leaders delegate to others, not always do the things themselves. Somebody's got to be in charge of relationship management on the team. And so you figure out games to play, strategic formulas to create, where you're doing things as a team. And, you know, many times we've been a part of strategic management, giving us team play. One time I went to an axe throwing place where you just go out as a team and have fun. You know what axe throwing is? You got a big wooden block on the wall with a bullseye on it and a cage around it so you don't destroy things. And you stand back about 20 feet from the wooden block and you throw an axe and try to hit the bullseye. And so you have two teams throwing and you score how well your team does. Well, that's kind of the rage going around right now for the last 4 or 5 years, is taking your team to the axe throwing place and having a game. It's just something different, something that builds camaraderie and fun into a business team. Another thing we did once was go to a place where they have a mystery and you have to solve a mystery, a whodunit. So you get clues and it's usually two teams and they're going through two different places to get clues. And the first one to figure out the clues gets to come out of the locked in room, and the escape from the room is the win. And you're the team play because everybody in the team is figuring out how to find the clues to who done it. What is the person who was guilty of some crime? So it's an interesting thing to do as a team. And you take half the team is in one room, half the team's in another room, and you compete with a common goal to get out of that room with the right answer. So you can't get out of the room unless you get all the answers right and unlock the door. So that's an example of a way to formulate strategies, is to have team play. Sometimes we take our team and have an Easter egg hunt. You hide a bunch of Easter eggs and then go find them. I mean, you think that's what kids do? Well, we would do that as adults. And everybody running around looking under rocks and behind plants for the little eggs that we hid that were the colored eggs. They were fun, So that was a surprise. And inside some of the plastic eggs that we hid, they weren't all real eggs. Some were filled with candy, some were filled with money. So, you have an incentive for people to go find the sweets or go find the money. So it's like a team effort to find the most eggs and all kind of fun things inside those eggs. So that's an example of team play. Next question is, if a startup company doesn't have the relationship management department, then suggest what they should do. I did already. Put a person in charge, one person. Have them study up on it. Have them create some training like what you're doing right now. You could invest a few hours in this in any company, and that company would stand to benefit greatly if everybody started thinking along the same lines as what we've been teaching. You never know what good comes from training until you've actually seen the results months later. But I know that big results come. We took our dental team from startup to $5 million in 10 years. When the average dental office does 800,000, we did 5 million. And it was because we built vision, mission, and culture and brought people on who mirrored that culture. And then we had regular team meetings and we had regular team events. And at regular intervals, I took my team on nice vacations and to good continuing education classes. And I would take my team to Hawaii or to Cancun or to Jamaica or to Nashville, Tennessee. I would take them on trips along with their spouses even, so that they could enjoy a week away from work on a vacation that we paid for. And that's because we did it as a bonus because of a year's worth of hard work. And so those are ways that relationship management is created, not just in words, but about deeds, by taking action, by showing people that if you do work hard, you get results, you get rewards. Next question is, people around us have different emotional intelligence levels. When we went to deliver a lesson or explain or answering something to them, how can we adopt a balanced approach so that everyone can easily understand our message? Yeah, I think you just have to be a little bit of an expert. You have to be a little bit of a student before you can teach. And so you take the materials that we've given you, the lecture I've given you, if you've recorded it, well, you can play this same message to people and just let them listen to the same thing. That's one way. You can give them a book to read and say, this great book. You can give articles to people. So anytime you're trying to teach somebody, you know, you got to have resources, whether it's videos, audios, books, articles on paper. And if they apply themselves and look at the material, they're usually going to understand. If they don't understand, based on getting simple messages, you're talking to a blank wall. You know, you're talking to somebody with low emotional intelligence, maybe, or something that's they're not interested, so that they may not be appropriate for your team. I got time for one or two more questions. So if you have one, glad to take it. It's been a great hour. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bill. Take care.
Any last question?
Do we have any question? You can raise your hand, Aram, if you have any.
No, ma'am, that would be fine enough. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, it's been fun. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see you. And I wish all of you very well today.
Take care, Dr. Bill.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, fine, everyone. Thank you very much for being so nice and for asking questions. क्योंकि जब तक हम इनसे questions नहीं पूछते तो इनको ये दिखता है कि जैसे interest कम हो गया है या he is not that much
क्या
effective.
हुआ? मुझे समझ नहीं आई।
Sorry, मरवा असलम, आपका अनम्यूट क्यों हो जाता है? आप ड्यूरिंग प्रेजेंटेशन मैंने 2-3 दफा आपका म्यूट किया। मेक श्योर आप अनम्यूट ना किया करें। Anyways, so now we will have him on Monday, or I'll take the assessment what I have told you on Friday, which is tomorrow. Okay, and आपके दाऊद अख्तर, are you still there? दाऊद अख्तर, are you still there? Okay, fine. हाफिज भाई, दाऊद ने रिजल्ट्स रख दिए हैं 11 असेसमेंट्स के। हाफिज भाई, तलहा, मेरी आवाज आ रही है आप लोगों को?
यस मैम, आवाज आ रही है।
अच्छा, असेसमेंट्स रख दी गई हैं वहां पर। 11 असेसमेंट्स दाऊद ने आज प्रॉमिस किया हुआ था कि रिजल्ट्स रखने थे।
मैम पता नहीं मैम, दाऊद।
ओके फाइन, चेक करें। जी इरफान भाई।
मैडम, असेसमेंट फॉर टुमारो काइंडली, अगर उसका लिंक मिल जाए तो।
डॉक्टर बिल की जो प्रीवियस वो थे लेक्चर थे, प्रेजेंटेशन थी, वो ही हमारा असेसमेंट। एक्चुअली वो मैंने आज लेना था। आई वाज नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग हिम, क्योंकि सर अवेलेबल नहीं है और इसके साथ मेरी बात नहीं हो पा रही थी। तो ये तो लास्ट मोमेंट में ही कॉल्ड मी दैट आई एम गोना कम। अदरवाइज आज आपसे मैंने जो प्रीवियस इसकी जो वो थे लेक्चर्स थे, इंटेलिजेंस, IQ, EQ, वो सारे मैंने आपसे आज लेने थे। अदरवाइज अब ये मैं आपसे कल लूंगी। आज वाला नहीं होगा, आज वाला सेशन नहीं होगा, लेकिन बाकी सब हो गए पीछे वाले। ओके एवरीवन, अगर आपको कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम। इंशाल्लाह सी यू टुमारो। जी रियाज भाई, एनीथिंग?
मैम आज ना इंटरनेट डिस्कनेक्ट होता रहा है मेरा, तो मैंने ये इसकी रिकॉर्डिंग का पूछना था कि आज वाली रिकॉर्डिंग कब मिलेगी?
हाफिज भाई, आई हैव, सॉरी रियाज भाई, आई हैव टोल्ड यू सर अवेलेबल नहीं है। रिकॉर्डिंग्स जो हैं वो सर के ईमेल में आती हैं और वो फिर उनको करनी होती हैं। तो अगर हमें कल वाली भी सर नहीं पोस्ट कर पाए बिकॉज ही वाज बिजी, और आई बिलीव सैटरडे को या मंडे को आई विल आस्क हिम टू पुट ऑल द रिकॉर्डिंग्स ऑन यूट्यूब और आप लोग उसको लिंक्स देख सको।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
क्योंकि रिकॉर्डिंग वाला जो लिंक है वो मेरे पास नहीं है,
ठीक हो गया
बाकी जो
मैम,
पर्सनल ईमेल है उसमें आती है।
ओके मैम।
यानी
बस वो
रुखसार,
confidence की
मैम टेस्ट फ्राइडे को होगा या मंडे को?
कल फ्राइडे को इंशाल्लाह।
ओके।
आज होना था ना, लेकिन आज नहीं ले सके। जी शाजिया है।
मैम वो सर फैसल लेंगे अभी, उनके साथ मीटिंग है क्योंकि बहुत से क्वेश्चंस हैं उसके लिए, जो प्रोजेक्ट हम कर रहे हैं ना।
मेरी आज उनसे बात नहीं हुई है। आपने क्वेश्चन आंसर जो उनके प्रोजेक्ट की शीट है उसमें आपने क्वेश्चन डाल दिए हुए?
मैम वो तो हम ग्रुप में भी साथ साथ कर रहे हैं, तो काम मैं नहीं कर पा रही, आज को कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है तो इस वजह से उनसे बात करना जरूरी था।
ओके तलहा, कैन यू प्लीज कॉल फैसल भाई एंड आस्क हिम कि क्या वो मीटिंग आज ले रहे हैं? अगर ले रहे हैं तो हमें बता दें ताकि ये लोग उसमें ज्वाइन कर लें। इनको ग्रुप में आप बता दीजिएगा।
ओके मैम।
Okay. Any other question from anyone? Any other question from anyone? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for your time.